Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, two of the most popular names in modern tennis history, will give us thrills one more time. Top of the hour, ESPN2, their opening round match of the U.S. Open. Now, these two have played several notable matches through the years, including 15 years ago when Sharapova won her first major title at 17 years old against Serena in Wimbledon. She would beat Serena again later that year, but it's been all Serena since. She flipped the tables in 2005 at the Aussie Open semis, saving match point in the second and third set before winning the match and eventually the tournament. That is part of an 18-match win streak for Serena against Sharapova. The last time they met in a Grand Slam final was the 2015 Australian Open, a match Serena won in straight sets. But now they're in New York for the U.S. Open. Chris Evert won the U.S. Open 6 times during her Hall of Fame career, and she joins us now. All right, Chrissy, last few times we've seen Serena, she lost in the final at Wimbledon, had to retire during the final of the Rogers Cup with a back injury, which led her to withdraw from the Cincinnati Masters. What are you expecting to see from Serena in this match tonight?
Well, the thing is, she's still getting to the finals. So everyone thinks, you know, oh, she reached the finals, but she couldn't win it. But she's reached the finals of 3 out of the last 5 Grand Slams, which shows me she's still playing good tennis. But she hasn't reached her A game yet. And I think the one thing that she's missing is that little bit of fitness, which translates into the moving. However, she owns, like you said, she owns Maria Sharapova. And the funny thing is, we watched her practice all last week because ESPN called the Fan Week, and she looks sharp in practice. She's serving well, she's returning well, she's moving corner to corner pretty well, and she loves playing Maria Sharapova. She feels that she has her number, that she can overpower her and outrun her. So I think Serena's going to be really serious about this match tonight.
Well, speaking of Sharapova on the other side, Chrissy, she's been fighting to return to form for quite some time. She hasn't made it past the round of 16 since last December in China. How would you assess her game at this point?
It's really hard to tell because we haven't seen enough of her. She's only played 4 tournaments this year where she completed. She keeps getting injured. She had shoulder surgery in February, which I think has really hurt and affected her serve. But you got to admire Maria Sharapova. She has tenacity. She still feels that she can beat the top players, and that's why she's into the game of tennis. Remember, she's ranked 87 in the world, and she still has pride and belief in herself. So you got to hand it to her. You know, who knows what's going to happen tonight. A little bit of confidence from Maria will go a long way. Yeah, you mentioned 87th in the world right now. Serena ranked number 8. We'll see them go at it again for the 22nd time. Chris Evert, we'll see you top of the hour as well on ESPN2. Thanks so much.
Ezekiel Elliott, the holdout now at 31 days. Cowboys VP Stephen Jones says he's still confident a deal can be worked out. The boys have made Elliott an offer that would pay him more than $13.125 million a year. The Jets gave Le'Veon Bell a little less than the $14.375 that the Rams are paying Todd Gurley. So Zeke would be right in the middle of those two very talented players. Here's what Jerry Jones said on Saturday. Again, I don't want to sound like it's not important for him to be here. I think it's important for him to be here, or we wouldn't be having everybody be here, everybody getting some work in. Everything about this is important. Everybody does understand it. It's just a question of seeing if it works. But, you know, we're going to play football one way or the other. That's the way it works, end quote. Ed Werder back with us on SportsCenter. Ed, what is the latest on the Zeke negotiation?
Well, you would expect, Sage, that there'd be a heightened sense of urgency with these negotiations, but I'm told there was no significant activity regarding the Cowboys and their negotiations with Ezekiel Elliott today. The Cowboys' goal when training camp began was to sign Elliott, Dak Prescott, and Amari Cooper to extensions before the regular season. But now it's become apparent that Jerry Jones has simplified that to simply signing Elliott. Jones said after the game against the Texans that they don't have to sign 3 players to start the season, just 1, Elliott, who continues his holdout. Jones still says he's optimistic, but that'll happen, but he also said he's uncertain that it will, and he said that if that holdout continues into week 1, it seems as though he's preparing to make sure the public blames the right person, the player, noting that Zeke is still under contract. And, you know, it's interesting, Sage, I think one of the issues here with them willing to go beyond Le'Veon Bell, but not as much as Todd Gurley is when they drafted Ezekiel Elliott 4th overall. You know, a first-round pick comes with 5 years of contractual control. Well, he's only played 3 years. So the Cowboys are willing to do a deal with 2 years left. They're not willing to do a deal, at least not at this point, that makes him the highest paid running back in football. That's what the Rams did with Todd Gurley. The Cowboys obviously think that was a mistake.
Yeah, and not with 2 years left, maybe a year from now. But as Jerry said this weekend, the games will be played regardless. That is our Edwarder with the latest on Ezekiel Elliott. Michael?
All right, Keyshawn Johnson joins us now here on SportsCenter. All right, look, the Cowboys don't sign Ezekiel Elliott to win Week 1. They're trying to win a Super Bowl and maybe multiple Super Bowls. But having said that, Key, what concerns are there, if any, with Zeke not having any training camp potentially and just show up and be ready to play Week 1?
Well, I think he is, to some degree, having training camp. It just happens to be in Cabo.
All right, fair.
You think about the Marshall Faulk, the Hall of Famer, going down to Cabo and working out with Zeke Elliott. He knows the offense. He knows what to do. I'm not worried about him being in shape. He is a professional. He knows that being in shape is part of it. So at the end of the day, we watched the Cowboys in the past miss players for contract holdouts. They came in. Most notably and famously, Emmitt Smith. They started off 0-2 without Emmitt. So a lot of people point to that, and then they look up, and the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. This could be a repeat of that, although I do believe that Jerry learned a lesson from going 0-2, and he's not going to repeat that same mistake. I believe, personally, Zeke will be there for Game 1. Contract signed, still deliver. Everybody will be hugging and smiling.
All good.
All good.
Yeah, I think one guy looking at that Emmitt Smith situation is Ezekiel Elliott, trying to play it for himself as well. But Key's going to sit tight because there's a certain receiver we need to ask you about. Yeah,
I'm
we
so
got to do
tired,
it, man.
I got to always answer those questions about him.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? Antonio Brown, that's his name. He's now lost both of his grievances over wearing his old helmet, and now he's moving on. That's what his agent says. But Drew Rosenhaus also says the Raiders receiver has several offers from companies offering to make him a custom helmet and pay him to wear it. No word on where that stands right now, but Brown back on the practice field today, running routes exactly 2 weeks from their season opener against the Denver Broncos. Raiders reporter Paul Gutierrez now joins us from Raiders practice. And Paul, AB, back today as we said, but with the helmet saga seemingly behind him, how was he received by his teammates and his coaches?
I'll tell you what, Sage, with open arms, and that's really the only way to describe this. And it's for simple reason, the fact that he is actually out there practicing without the threat of leaving the team again. He did leave twice during training camp, but he's out there practicing in a certified helmet. And he's elevating the play of everyone else out there around him. You just see it on the field. John Gruden himself said that there's nobody in the league that has practiced harder than him. He even said harder than Jerry Rice, which may be hard to believe. But you see the elevation. You see the connection of he and Derek Carr getting back together. They did a lot of things this offseason together, and they're just continuing to do that on the practice field. Beyond that, AB's in a good place, sources say, because not only does he have an endorsement deal in place, but they're going to make him a new custom-made helmet going forward. So this thing should be long in the past.
Okay, we'll see. The Raiders open the season against the Broncos on Monday Night Football, September 9th, right here on ESPN. Paul, thank you. Michael?
Oh, we got Keyshawn back with us. And Drew Rosenhaus, the agent for Antonio Brown, says the helmet, foot issues, they're all behind him, blah, 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 blah. So let me ask you this. What do you expect to see from AB when the Raiders open up the season at home against Denver, division rival, Monday Night Football, September 9th? What are we going to see?
I expect for him to be on fire. I expect for you to see the same Antonio Brown that gave you what he gave you in Pittsburgh. And the reason is John Gruden has to have him succeed. He cannot have this as a failure experiment. He gave up a 3- and a 5th-round pick for him, but that's not the reason. The reason is he needs Carr to make sure that he's comfortable. A lot of things. He's calling the plays. He's got to get the ball to Williams. Got to get it to the young running back out of Alabama and Jacobs. There's so many different things that he has to do to get off to a fast start, and it starts with AB. That's why it was extremely important to get him there, to make sure that the helmet issues were put behind him, that they can move forward. And it seems like it is so far.
Does AB need to get off to a good start? After all this controversy, does he need to ball out in Week 1?
I think he does, because people are looking at him and put the target on his back. And that's the situation, and I believe he will.
All right, fair enough. We have way more stuff to ask you about, so we're getting all the work out of you today. So Keyshawn Johnson's going to sit tight. We got more to come here on Sports.